This is Unpoured Perspectives, your mind on whiskey. I'm Joel Baachus, and this is Kevin Dondy. Today we're here with Cooper Sleeman at the Spring Mill Distillery. We're gonna pop something first, and then we're gonna get into our conversation.
Let's do it.
Ready?
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming
Actually,
on.
thank you for coming here.
Yeah, that's right. This place is awesome.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about what we're pouring.
So this is a super special whiskey to us as a family, us as a business. You guys are the first people to try it outside of us, or like us, our internal staff. This is our first inspired by Ireland whiskey. So, my father, we'll call it a daily driver in whiskey, has always been Irish, an Irish style whiskey, light, approachable, easy. And I've really struggled to get it right. We've made beautiful Irish style whiskeys for years. For 7 years, we've tried different methods, malted and unmalted through the Coffey still, single pot finished after coming through the column, double pot, triple pot. Like, we've tried them all, malted, unmalted, everything. And they've all been delicious, but they haven't been exactly what my father wanted when in his mind of what an Irish whiskey was. And so we have been going through the process of starting to actually blend between the years that we've been trying different methods, and we actually found a blend that gives my dad the whiskey style that he wanted from the very beginning of building this distillery. And going through that process of creating the blend, we found this singular cask, which is an unmalted and malted mix through our mash tun, and then in our beer column or coffee column still. And it was just too good to pass up. And so we were launching it on St. Patrick's Day of this year. I know this will come out just after St. Patrick's Day. So hopefully there's still some bottles available. 58.7% alcohol.
Or hopefully not.
Or hopefully not. Yeah, that's the funny thing, is like you want it to sell, but you also want to make sure that people get a chance to get it, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And so yeah, we're really, really excited. And for me, this one means a lot because it's the first time that we've launched an Irish style whiskey, and we've been making it, like I said, for 7 years. So
I love this nose.
Cheers.
Yes, cheers.
Cheers. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, the nose on it is fantastic.
Very green apples, very honey.
Yeah. Green and creamy.
Oh, creamy, yes, for sure.
Green and creamy.
I'm gonna we're gonna bring the creamy counter back.
Yeah.
So going back to the story, actually, well, let's try it first.
That's special. That's delicious.
Yeah. Thank you.
Wow, lovely.
Yeah, you can taste the grain a little bit, like almost like a hay.
I get like almost like a hazelnut kind of sweetness, like a hazelnut, like chocolatey kind of, which you wouldn't normally associate with Irish whiskeys. But
Yeah.
I think what's really interesting for us is, this whiskey is a Canadian whiskey.
Yeah.
Right. Everything we do here, even from our Irish style whiskeys, our single malts, our traditional straight whiskey, our bourbon style whiskey. They're all Canadian whiskeys.
Yes.
And trying to tell consumers about what we're trying to do is half the battle, right? Like our traditional straight whiskey, bourbon, I didn't want to get sued, right? I'm not calling it bourbon.
No, of
Yeah.
course.
But it truly is a bourbon. And we've been making it for a long time, and I'm really proud of it. But getting people to pick it up off the shelf is half the battle, right?
Yeah, and I think that is one of the things that Canadian whiskey, for me, is very special about, Canadian whiskey, in that the definition isn't like bourbon, that it's like so tight and rigid where everything is the same. It's not like Scotland where, you can only use certain barrel types, or, only barley is, used for Scotch kind of thing. We really have a lot of creativity, a lot of ability to do whatever you want, right? And this is the kind of thing that really begins to show all of that off.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I think it's a real privilege to be able to make whiskey here in Canada, because we're not bound by those rules like you're talking about. I've had the privilege of speaking with some guys in the States, some guys in Scotland, and they go, I wish I had like that unlimited free will that you guys have. And so for us, it's fun to be able to kind of experiment and play. And there's nothing, when I say everything we make is Canadian whiskey, I'm not, disappointed to say that. I'm proud to say that, And I think, Canadian whiskey is really going through this really positive momentum.
I would say so, yeah.
At the moment. And it's being able to put something like this out in the market that helps tell that story, right?
So to me, this begs the question then, would your style of whiskey produced here at Spring Mill be a traditional style, or would it be considered like a cutting edge style?
I've never been asked that before. Well, I'll answer your question by kind of maybe explaining how we do things. My father had it was kind of a no BS mentality towards building this. If we're going to put whiskey out and we're going to put our last name on it, we want it to be the best that we think we can do. And in order for that to happen, we need to start checking some boxes, right? First and foremost, you need to find the right people, right? And we're very lucky that we have very good, very well-educated, smart people that stand behind this and are really passionate about making this whiskey, or our vodkas and gins and liqueurs. And so it starts there. Then you get into your grains. So we're a fully grained to glass facility. And I think we're also privileged to be able to say that we have some of the best grains in the world here in Canada, right?
For
so
sure.
That's check. Okay, what's next? Next is equipment, right? So you got the people, you got the grains, now you need the equipment. So we went out and got what we thought was the best possible equipment. So we got precise stills.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a long way of me, and then getting the correct barrels, right? It's a long way of me saying, the best sometimes is still the hard way.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing here. But it's also the authentic and historical way of doing it, right? So I think that there's a part of it that we're doing things the traditional way, like you said, using traditional hand-hammered copper stills, using the traditional barreling methods, whether we're getting barrels from Kentucky or whatever. But we're cutting edge in a way where we're trying to release an Irish-style whiskey here in Canada. So I think it's a little bit of both. And sorry for taking a long way to get there.
No, that's great, because I think that may encapsulate some of the philosophy around this whole facility.
Yeah, I think, our core message from the very beginning, the whole reason we started this distillery is because we as a family enjoy good whiskey. Not like crazy, expensive, hard to find whiskeys. We like those too. But we really like just the moment of having a dram and kind of having a conversation, and it's really complemented by good whiskey. But here's the thing, we weren't like bourbon people. We're not single malt people. We just loved all the different kinds of whiskeys that you could get your hands on. So the idea was, let's make a distillery that has the capability of making the great whiskeys from around the world, but all here in Canada using Canadian grains. And that was the idea. And that's how we were going to differentiate ourselves from other competitions. So
Yeah.
Along those lines, I think just going back to the equipment, correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember your dad telling a story of how the Forsyth stills were initially, purchased and created, and how they wanted a reference spirit, during the creation of those stills. Do you want to talk about that and tell us what that reference spirit was? Because I think that sort of creates a through line here.
I won't tell you what it was specifically.
Okay.
However, I will tell you it was an Irish style whiskey.
Yes.
And I think that's been the most infuriating part of all of this, is that, and every step along the way, right? So in our hammer mill, I've got a roller mill and a hammer mill, and the hammer mill is for everything, and then the roller mill is really, and I'm using the wrong terms, but the roller mill is for our single malt, right? And then I've got a lauter tun for our single malt. I've got wooden washbacks for our single malt. So we still have those pieces of equipment to do everything niche if we want to. But at its core, the inception of this place was Irish whiskey. And so I think that you'll find a lot of the different varieties of whiskey we make still have that really light and approachable kind of note to them, especially when we're not dealing with, if you take out the finishing barrel program, right, different barrels that might add that big punch, our base spirit that comes off no matter the mash bill that we're putting through, because of the gooseneck and the lin arm of our pot stills, really are kind of got that light Irish note. So that, to answer your question, we did have that base spirit being Irish.
And I think my favorite spirit, of your core range anyways, is the single malt for exactly those reasons. Right? To me, that comes across as a very spirit-forward whiskey, very spirit-driven whiskey. And, the flavor and just the way the grain comes across is just, I think, brilliant.
Well, thank you very much. That means the world. Again, we pride ourselves on trying to make world-class spirits from around the world. And that's no small task, right? So
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this distillery has been mentioned on our podcast pretty much the most, I would say.
Yeah,
We spent a good
definitely.
little bit of time chatting with Andrea about it. And almost every time we get into who's doing really good Canadian spirits, your name comes up.
thank you.
So.
You know what? It means the world. I really appreciate it. It hasn't come without its challenges, right? Making a distillery and trying to keep it afloat for the 7 years that we've been in business thus far has not been easy at all. And we're still not making money, right? Like, we're still not a profitable business. So we're trying to find a way to make it profitable. And I just had a son of my own, my first. Thank you very much. And so hopefully he gets to reap the rewards of all my hard work. And it's not just me; it's everyone here. But I'm looking at this, and I think my dad was looking at it too, as an intergenerational business. Yeah. This is not a get-rich-quick business, right? And being steadfast, committed to quality is you have to do that, right? At the beginning.
Yeah. Well, there's that joke, right? How do you make a small fortune in whiskey?
You don't make whiskey.
Well, no, you start with a large fortune.
Yeah, right. Yes. Yeah. There you go. Exactly. Yeah. I can see that. And you know what? I think that's an interesting point you brought up. And I am naive a lot of times, but I am certainly not unaware of the privilege I have and we have of being able to invest in this business as it stands. However, we're not completely that thick. Like, this does need to start making money at some point. And so it's a passion project, right? It's a passion project behind whiskey, and it's a passion project behind a family business. Those are the two key pillars to what's keeping us going. I just have the privilege of trying to find out how to make it all make money.
Very cool. Now, I have a question because speaking to a couple of different people in the industry, when they had children, they added a little Easter egg to their product. Did you do anything like that?
No. There has been a bit of a tradition in our family where as soon as you're born, the first liquid to touch your lips in the operating room is a bottle of cream ale beer.
Oh, yeah?
So that's true for my brother and I. I won't get into details on my son because if my wife's watching this, I'll love it. But no, there's fun traditions for sure. I think it'd be fun to put a little something on there. Does it end up becoming? Because my brother had a baby boy a couple weeks before my baby boy was born. So does it become John Sleeman and Sons and Sons? I don't know. So.
Either way, it's definitely, we're going to tease out a lot of the stories around Spring Mill Distillery and John Sleeman and Sons, but it's very clear that, this is ultimately a 200-year legacy, right? And there are a ton of stories that go back there, and I'm going to touch on one right now and maybe get you to tell that one because you already mentioned it. You sort of touched on the washbacks, right? And we have been asked to tell that story, and we didn't.
Okay.
Right. So now I think it's time for it to come, from yourself direct.
Okay. Where do I begin? Going back to being absolutely committed to product quality. If we wanted to make a single malt whiskey or a Scottish or a Scotch-inspired Canadian single malt whiskey, we wanted to make sure that we did everything in our power to not change it, other than just being in Scotland. can I get the same pieces of equipment all the way through? Can I get barley that grew in Scotland and bring it here to Canada? How can I make it as Scottish as possible but do it here? And it became very clear that for us to do it authentically, we would need to get wooden washbacks. And so that was quite a process. At first, when we had said we wanted washbacks, they said, what? We've never done that before. We've never made a washback and shipped them. We just get in our car and drive down the road and build it in whatever distillery is down the road from us in Scotland. So just that alone, the logistics side of shipping a washback halfway around the world is a challenge. They had to build it in their backyard, right? I was told, and then ship it here where, again, and so that's half of it, right? The other half is washbacks are made with what's called Oregon pine. So the name of the tree is Oregon pine. And that's what the guys in the States call it. We in Canada call that exact same tree Douglas fir. Mm-hmm. So as soon as we found that out, we were like, why don't we make our washbacks out of Canadian Douglas fir? And the funny thing is the guys in Scotland, the father-son team there said, no, we got our wood guys that we deal with in Oregon and up in the Pacific Northwest. We'll just buy from them. We're like, no, we really want you to use Canadian Douglas fir. So they said, go find the trees yourself. So we did. We went to Vancouver Island, sourced the logs, sent them halfway around the world. They were fabricated and made in Scotland and then shipped back to us. And again, it's no compromise, right? It's no compromise on product quality. And I think the washbacks are a good example of who we are as a company because I think they're a good example of who we are. We are willing to use and make Canadiana and involve it in our process when it's no product quality lost. Yeah. You can't tell me there's a difference between a tree that grows on one side of the border right there in Washington State and the one that grows right here in Canada. There shouldn't be a difference, right? So if I can buy from a Canadian producer, then I will. And so but man, they're a pain in the butt. Like really, you got to hand clean them. They want to leak so bad. They're really not meant to be here in Canada. Like they're meant to be in a more moist climate. Yeah. So we're learning that. We're working through it. But it's again that absolute no compromise.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. Once again, marrying the traditional with the cutting edge.
Right.
It took some commitment to actually get that to happen, right? It would have been way easier to just say, okay, well, we'll use your guys, but
or put it into stainless steel, right? Because it's like that's the thing is, and we've done a couple trial brews in our stainless steel fermenter, and actually, what it results is like a much cleaner spirit base coming out of there. But that's not the way they do it in Scotland, so that's not the way we're going to do it here.
Very cool.
I think that is, you were sort of saying about who you guys are, and the word that comes to mind for me is authentic, right? I think your process and your commitment is authentic, and I think that makes you, it makes me think you guys are authentic as well, which obviously you are.
Thank you. I am definitely an authentic kid. Just trying to make this all work. But no, I think, there's, that does speak to the whiskey, and I shouldn't take responsibility for any of this, right? I mean, like this is a full team that stands behind that and believes in it and sees an opportunity for us to do something truly unique here in Canada. But being authentic to where it is, or the inspiration for that particular whiskey is really important. Yeah. Right? So that's half of it.
Let's round out who Cooper Sleeman is a little bit more. Okay. Let's say you're traveling.
Don't make them nervous.
Yeah. You're in a place where you can't have a Sleeman cold can of beer. Mm-hmm. You can't have anything from Spring Mill. It's not there. Mm-hmm. What are you reaching for?
I'm a sucker for a Guinness. So a Guinness for sure. Sleeman has a lot of beer brands underneath its portfolio, so I'll loop all of those in as well. And then on the spirit side, my first true love with whiskey was actually a Highland Park 12. Okay. That was the first time where I tried that, and I was like, whoa, I really like this. Yeah. Like, I really, really like this. And then that kind of grew it from there. So, it's like your first love, what I mean? You kind of always come back to it. So, yeah, I'd say Highland Park 12 for whiskey.
Highland Park,
and then I'm it can be like 45 degrees outside, and I'm still reaching for a Guinness. Like, it's just, I don't know what. Yeah,
I
good, right?
love, as as dark as possible.
Yeah.
All those chocolatey hazelnut porridge. I want a meal for a beer for sure.
You'll get one with that.
Your thoughts on the Guinness with the coffee in it? Yes or no? Just a thumbs up, thumbs down.
What?
Yeah, I don't know if I've
You
heard
put
that.
coffee in Guinness?
No, they have it. It's available. It's like the Guinness cold brew. It's got like a shot of cold brew coffee.
I haven't seen that.
You haven't seen
No,
No.
I think I'm more of a traditionalist. I don't think I would be interested.
Yeah, like I just see Guinness on draft, and I'm like,
I don't encourage
I think
irresponsible drinking.
Maybe
but
I would do
that-
the opposite. I'd put a little Guinness in my coffee.
There
not,
you go.
I don't
Not
encourage
coffee in my Guinness.
irresponsible drinking, but if there was ever a breakfast beer, that is the one I'm telling you right now.
That's true.
There you go. Yeah,
It's
cold
very
brew
good.
coffee and Guinness sounds pretty good. I'll have to try it.
Yeah, it's available. It's around. But outside of spirits,
Yeah.
what kind of guy are you? Are you a sports guy? Are you a
Yeah.
video game guy? A
So-
crochet guy? Or-
Crochet guy? No, so my passion has always been football. I played football as a kid, and I think I got that from my dad. My dad played football as a kid, and I just saw like the way he would like scream at the TV, and I was like, why is he yelling at the TV? And then I got really into it. So my brother, my father, and I, we like talk football all the time, especially like NFL, CFL, both of them. And it's been a real passion. I married a girl from Hamilton, so I'm now a Ticats fan, which I kind of like. It's kind of gritty, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But we're just football. We're football fans, like through and through. But we're also we talk a lot about work. Like work is our life, you know. And there's no clock in, clock out, right? It's kind of all the time. Like I was here at 8 o'clock this morning. I'll be here at midnight tonight. And my wife wants to strangle me, but I think she sees the passion and she understands that this is also a family business, and it's definitely not like that every day.
Yeah.
But you got to make hay while the sun's shining, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
And I think looping back again into that authentic nature of the way this business is created and run, right? You guys weren't just gifted the positions that you have now.
No.
Right? Tell us about how you got into this.
My dad has always been very clear that there's no corner office for you. There's no I'm not just going to make a job up for you. You got to prove it, because there's people out there that have really good experience in this industry and are probably better at your job than you are, Cooper. So you got to prove the reason why you should be there. And it was the same way at the brewery. My first job at the brewery, I was on the bottle return line, so pulling cigarettes and needles and stuff out of bottles, return all night long.
Jeez.
And it showed me that, and I was happy because I got that paycheck at the end. I was like, I worked for that, and it showed me that it inspired me to continue to work and learn more about the business and dive in a little bit deeper, because I was passionate about it, and because for the 18 years prior to that, I was really interested in what was happening. Like we'd come home on a random Tuesday night, and the first thing I'd say to my dad, like at a young age, was like, "How was work? Like, tell me about like how it was," because I could feel the passion in what he was doing.
Yeah.
So that part is a bit intoxicating, right? Like you want to get involved in it. It's like anything, right? You see someone that's super passionate about suitcases or door hinges, and you go like, I want it. It's that passion that you want. You don't necessarily want to be in that suitcase or door hinge business, but you want that passion.
Yeah.
Right. That's what life's all about.
Very cool. Yeah, I can tell that your dad is a great storyteller. We were sitting at one of his master classes a couple years ago at Whiskey Wonderland. That gene hasn't skipped a generation. Hanging on every word here.
Yeah, I think I've seen the way he interacts with a room. He's pretty good at working a room. I aspire to have the way that he can engage with people and read a room.
Yeah.
So that I do have a bit of envy for sure.
And I think sort of maybe tying that interest into the business growing up. I have a question here that your family history, right, includes a half-century government ban on alcohol production due to outlaw activities, whatever that means.
Yeah.
Growing up with that story, did you always feel a pull to the industry, or was there a moment of rebellion where you considered something else?
Um,
I mean, it wouldn't have to be rebellion.
So
but
there's a lot to unpack in that question. So
Yeah.
let's go back to the history side, the 50-year ban. There is a connection with that ban and this building, which is really cool. And that's how we ended up here. So this building was built in 1835 as a distillery, no connection to our family business at that time. And how we ended up here was we were actually going to build a distillery down the 401 from here. New building, like on our farm, kind of, and would have worked probably a little bit better because like you could have a fork truck kind of going around. We're quite tall here and we're historic, so there's some challenges. But what they did find in a false basement here was the illicit holding tanks connected to my great-great-grandfather, which was like the liquid that came out of those holding tanks were on the truck that we were caught smuggling with Al Capone. So like that's the kind of cool connection. We didn't even know where they were until 2015, right? So like there's that, but.
So wait, you mean these specific tanks?
These specific tanks, because on the police records, it's like there's beer and then there's moonshine, new make whiskey, spirits of some sort. And we never knew where they came from, ever, right? And then we find these tanks, they're piped up through the wall so you can just dump everything in the river if you want. This neighborhood is traditionally an Italian neighborhood in Guelph. It always has been, probably always will be. And there's lots of documents of the police checking for roofs in the winter. So Guelph is like, there's a hill that kind of Guelph downtown is on, and there's a big church right on top of the hill. And the police, it's well documented, would just look down for roofs in the winter that didn't have snow on them. All the other roofs have snow, except for that one. There's no way it should be that hot in there, right? So they go in and they go, we know what you're doing. Give us 20%, 25% of what you're producing. Move the still somewhere else. Where did that all go? We never knew. Came into this building, right? And the only reason that worked is because George Sleeman, my great-great-grandfather, was also the mayor of Guelph.
Wow.
Right? So he was the one that was caught smuggling with Al Capone, and then blah, 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 blah. Here we are, however many years.
This is George Sleeman.
George Sleeman. So there was John H. Sleeman that started the first Sleeman breweries in 1834. And in
that
St.
was in
David's,
St. David's,
so just outside of St. Catharines. And in 1836, he started Spring Mill Distillery. Then they moved to Guelph, and I could bore you with that story because it's a long one. But then they were caught smuggling here in Guelph in 1933, and at that time, Sleeman had become quite a big, profitable business. In part due to smuggling during Prohibition, but also because they had refined things and become quite large.
So, if from my research, the distillery, the operational distillery didn't move from St. David's to here.
Correct.
But illicit distilling operations continued here.
Well, yes,
Possibly.
I think what ultimately happened is Prohibition started. They started moving beer across the border, realized how much money they were making, and went, we can get even more money if we sell or distribute spirits. How do we get spirits? Well, at that time, it's pretty clear that people were still making spirits in their homes. Well, how do we collect all of that and get it across the border? So that's the connection.
Wow, super cool.
And then there was a half other part to that question, but I can't remember what it was. I'm sorry.
It was the pull and lure of all of that.
Well,
Did you ever consider something else?
Well, it's a pretty cool story, right?
Very cool.
Like you want to be involved. I considered some other things. But what my dad always talks about was how he was like pretty much unemployable, because any boss he had, he would question things, poke and prod, and suggest things and ways to make things better, and that can become quite annoying when you have employees that are continuing to poke and prod and be like, why are you and questioning you, right? And so he went off and worked for himself. So in 1977. Which St. Patrick's Day of 1977.
Yes, that's right.
He got his first liquor license to open his first pub. That was the first time he worked for himself, which will be 49 years of working for yourself on Tuesday this next week. And he has always spoken quite highly. He's like, if you're unemployable and you want to challenge your superiors or your colleagues, then you really need to think about working for yourself. And so I pursued that. In university, I started my own window cleaning business, and I worked my peers, staff, quite hard because I was like, okay, if I don't clean enough windows this summer, I'm gonna have no beer money for next year.
Priorities.
So like we gotta clean some windows. And I did that for pretty much my entire university life, and it became quite routine. I was getting used to working all hours of the day, and I was really passionate about it, so I could understand why my dad was passionate about what he was doing. And so then I went into the beer sales world with Sleeman, because I kind of connected 2 and 2. I was like, I can clean as many windows as I want, but I'm really going to need to clean a hell of a lot of windows to buy a house.
Yeah.
If I go work for a big company selling Sleeman beer, which I can talk about Sleeman beer because I lived it for however many years.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll have some success there, and then one thing folded into another,
Yeah.
and here we are.
Yeah. Can I sort of relate? So one of the reasons, as I understand it, there's a Toronto Life article that I think maybe your dad wrote, because it seems like it's written from the first person. But he talks about how going to a pub in Nottingham with his father-in-law, after work and drinking beers and really feeling a sense of community.
Yep.
And thus being one of the, driving factors for opening his own pub. So I guess the question is about community. And, before we started the podcast today, I was on your website. You guys have like events, well, it seems like every week up until the end of the year, right? Do you want to talk about community and sort of how that, influences what you're doing, and maybe whether that's a driving factor?
Well, it's a huge driving factor. I mean, and you can use community in the sense of, like, there's regions to community, right? There's like your local community, and then there's like being Canadian as a community.
Right.
I think there's different ways to look at it. But one of the things my dad said very early on when we were starting this distillery is this business will only be as strong as the community that it's in. And any opportunity we can to give back to that community, you need to do that. Because as soon as you brush your community away, whether again that be Canada, or like if you neglect Canada or you neglect Guelph, Ontario, or Ontario for that matter, they're going to remember that. They're going to be like, you remember those guys? They didn't have those Sleeman boys, they didn't have our back. Right. And so it's important that community continues to be a focus, right? So giving away hand sanitizer during COVID, doing all sorts of events and charity giveaways. It's not a hard thing to do. You look at your books at the end of the year and you go, we lost money. And then I go, how much money did we give away to charity? Right? How much money did we actually give back into the community? Because that means we're at least helping people.
Yeah.
We'll find a way to make money and make this thing be profitable, but I'm not going to race to profitability and let these opportunities not come into fruition.
That's very important. And again, super cool. Just love it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Well, I think that the future is very bright for Canadian whiskey in general.
I hope so, by the way.
Yeah, I hope so.
On a side note, me too.
Yeah. Sorry, Joel.
So now you guys are breaching the 7-year mark. So I'm imagining you have some older stuff sitting in the tank.
Yeah.
Now this is coming out, you said Tuesday?
Correct.
Is there anything in the near future that you wish to share, or is that all under a lid right now?
Well, I was going to say I need to check with some people, but I don't have anyone to check with. Yeah, we need to continue to sell products to keep the lights on, whether they be our ready-to-drink cocktails, our gin and our vodkas, our kind of core offering whiskey, so our traditional straight whiskey or rye. But we have had a lot of fun doing our single casks. And so we see it as a really good way to reach out to a passionate consumer base like you guys, because we have made some fun stuff, right? There's a barrel over there that we brought from Speyside, and the attempt was to get our base single malt, at the time a 4.5, 5-year-old, in a once-used bourbon, and put it into an ex-Speyside barrel and see if we can get those peated notes out of it. Didn't go well. It's not what we wanted it to be. But that is part of my spice cabinet, right? We've got lots of those kind of one-off fun things that we've done. Again, a real privilege to be able to do that. So yeah, we've got some older stuff coming, mostly under the single cask, and we do have our core Irish style whiskey, which I can't call it that, so it's going to be called Copper Pot Whiskey, which will be this bond, right? Not this exact barrel, but that bond that we did is a core piece of that blend. So that'll be a combination of double distilled, triple distilled, coffee, still, and then malted and unmalted to get like all those different varieties over the last 7 years to get ultimately my dad the whiskey that he wants, which is a passion project for me.
And just, referencing this again, I have been going back to this over and over again. And, that note that you said, I didn't pull it out initially, but you've said it, that chocolate hazelnut is like just stellar.
Good.
I'm in love.
Good.
And also talking very quickly about your single barrels, and you recently won some Canadian Whiskey Awards.
Yes, we
so
did.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Right, for Best Whiskey No Age Statement and Best Single Cask Whiskey.
Yeah, this one right here, the wine cask aged single malt. Yeah, it was a total shocker. It's funny, there was like somebody filming, I think it was the Trenny and Sea guys in BC. We're filming the guy reading off, and the word goes to, and he pans to me, and they say, John Sleeman Sons, and my eyes pop out of my head. I'm like, wait, what? And so, it was a real honor to take home something like that. We certainly didn't expect it. Hopefully it's a sign of things to come.
From trying the whiskey, it's definitely a sign of things to come.
Oh, thank you for that. Cheers to that.
Yeah. Now your RTDs, you mentioned them briefly. The lime and ginger, amazing.
Thank you.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah. So I made that for my mom.
Sorry. Your pure enjoyment there was just like...
Yeah, I don't think he was lying. I really don't think he was lying.
It's very good. A little bit of fizzy water in there.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
away you go. Yeah, so my mom actually was the one. She was like, her go-to cocktail in the summer has always been kind of that ginger and lime mule, that Moscow mule. And she was bugging me for years, can you please make a Moscow mule in a can? Yeah. Then, the whole war thing breaks out, so we change it to ginger and lime mule. And it's done really, really well for us, like really, really, really well for us. And it helps pay the bills, right? It helps build the momentum. People pick that up and go, oh, I really like your ginger and lime mule. I wonder what their whiskey tastes like, right? And it's a good opportunity for us to continue to advertise who we are, right? But yeah, it's funny. I should have listened to my mom years before when she was like, "Can you please do this?" But now we did 15 months of mixing and blending to get that right, because I was so worried about giving it to my mom and she being like, "No, this is no good." So nothing like a mom's pressure, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Talking about all of the products that you guys have, right? You have actually quite a wide array of different products, right? Now, in the current market, right, there's actually a lot of distilleries, not so much like closing and shutting down in Canada, but there are a few distilleries that are sort of, shortening the product line, refocusing, that kind of thing. Talking to you throughout this interview, you seem like you're continuing to expand, bring out more, experiment. Is there, how do you feel about, is there a push to refocus and slim down, or are you guys happy to continue expanding and growing and trying different things?
So it's a great question. SKU rationalization is an integral part to long-term success in Bev space in Canada. You just simply cannot have 35 different brands and expect them all to continue to have success. At some point, you're going to oversaturate the market. What our priority for the last 7 years has been is honestly to get our Irish style core whiskey out, because then we've achieved what was our initial key pillars of success, which was make a beautiful bourbon here in Canada called traditional straight whiskey, which that one kept me up for a long time trying to figure out how to call that. Like, how do I tell someone it's a bourbon without saying bourbon? That screwed me up for a bit. So make a beautiful bourbon, make a beautiful single malt, make a beautiful Canadian rye. And again, I know I'm a bit biased saying beautiful, but do it right. And then make it an Irish whiskey. Those are our 4 core pillars. Then we can do offshoots from there, single casks, different varieties. My brother's, right, because he's a Cooper by trade, my brother, he makes Canadian oak barrels.
Yes, that was my next question.
There's a couple around here somewhere. And so there's a bunch of different varieties, but when you do lower volume of them, it makes it a lot easier for you to pulse in whiskey and pulse them out. right? So single casks make that really easy. It's once it's gone, it's gone. Once this is gone, it's gone, because I literally only had one barrel. There was one barrel that was like, hey, this I deserve to be on my own, and I can't replicate it, right? It's how hot was it that day, and how hot has it been since then, and all sorts of stuff. So,
And maybe that wood was dried in a different place, right? You're buying barrels probably. You're not going and smelling every single barrel that you buy.
Nope.
Right? That's kind
And
of
we'll notice
logistically
that,
impossible.
right? So there's 4 barrels on this skid right here, and these ones are, they're Calvin Cooperage, Virgin Canadian oak. No, Virgin American oak, I apologize. We'll fill up, let's say this is where I can't see what it is. Oh, this is actually traditional straight whiskey. So these 4 barrels were traditional straight whiskey. We'll fill them right off the still. Boom, 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 boom. It's not like you stopped, right? You didn't stop and go to the next one. 4 or 5 years afterwards, these will all taste different, right? And it's the exact same liquid went in, right? But it's that little different interactions with each barrel. Now that's where the blenders. That's right, and that's where the blenders really come in.
So this leads me to a question: is whiskey art or science?
There's a saying.
This whiskey is art.
There's a saying. Being a brewer is science. Being a distiller is art, and it's really because of the blending and with distilling that I think it's an art. We're pretty strict with our cuts here off our pot stills. That's where the art comes in. Right? It's blending in between. That's the beautiful thing about Johnny Walker, right? I mean, really, truthfully, you have a Johnny Walker Blue from 1972 and you have a Johnny Walker Blue from last year. I guarantee you cannot tell the difference between them. They are not even remotely the same whiskey.
Yeah.
Right? It's different blends over time, but it's that consistency and that you want it, that you desire. And I think that's where the art comes in.
Very cool. Yeah.
So, you are the sons, or you are one of the sons of John Sleeman and Sons. Let's say arbitrarily 20 years from now, 30 years from now, even 50 years from now. What do you want the industry?
I hope to be retired. But sorry, what do I want the industry? Sorry.
What do you want the industry, or to say was the Cooper Sleeman contribution here?
Oh, I don't want any. I don't want any of that. I have no desire to have my name on this at all.
So in 200 years, we don't want to be talking about Cooper Sleeman the way we were talking about John H. and George.
Well, the only reason anybody's talking about my great-great-grandfather is because he threw the whole thing away and got caught smuggling with Al Capone. It's much more fun to talk about the things he did that were a bit naughty as opposed to the successes. Yeah. No, I want people to kind of look back and go, yeah, he just continued on what his family did. He didn't screw it up. Really, that's like the whole thing. It's like he didn't screw it up. So I hope for that, and I hope the same for my brother. Right? I think my brother feels the exact same way.
And he made one hell of a guest on Unpoured Perspectives.
That's right.
That's it.
Yeah.
200 years from now.
Yeah. Exactly.
Talking about your brother, right? You guys have one of the only cooperages in some ways, or maybe in every way, in Canada.
Yeah.
Is it the only cooperage in Canada, or
not
the only cooperage? I mean, the only cooperage at a distillery.
That I know of, but you know what? I probably am wrong. I haven't looked it up. We're really proud of what Quinn does. It's been painful because he. Poor guy looks at a tree and tries to turn it into a barrel.
When you phrase it like that, yes.
It's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah,
it's
very
like super,
crazy.
super, super crazy. But he's got the patience for it, which is half the battle, right? Like I would give up. I'd be like, I am so over this. I am not. But he's determined. He sticks to it, and I'm really proud of what he did. And now we're like, sold out, right? And it's mostly because he only made 20, 25 barrels a year. Right. And it's quite a process, right? We write a letter to an Amish guy, right? He doesn't have a phone.
Right.
Or email or anything. Yeah, so write a letter with a check in it.
Wow.
Right? And you pay for the trees and he goes out and sources them and Quinn will go out there. My brother's name is Quinn. he'll go out there and look and go, because you don't want trees with knots in them and stuff. Goes, I'll take that one and that one and that one. And then he goes, okay, thank you. Quinn comes back here, and that gentleman will spend the summer falling those trees, right? Cuts them down. And then he waits for a good snowfall, like the one we're having today, and he'll go in with his horses and pull out all the lumber, the trees, because he can slide it over that good snow. And then that gentleman will plane the boards quarter sawn, so cut them right. Like if this is the tree, the end of the tree after you've chopped it down, instead of cutting it like you would for flooring like this, you cut it like that and like that. So you expose the grains in a much more robust way, if you will. And then you let it sit outside in the rain and the snow and season the wood for a year and a half. So I'm 2 years into this process, and I still just have a pile of wood that we've paid for. And then Quinn comes along and starts cutting the heads and the staves, and it's quite a process, right? And then we put whiskey in it. Once he's actually made the barrel, we put whiskey in it, wait 5 more years.
So,
well, I should say we put spirit in it, just to be technical. Sorry.
To be clear, the Cooper's rye is not you.
Correct. I wish honestly, I wish I could go back in time and slap myself in the face. Because I really didn't, that's why I put the Coopers, so people would understand it's my brother Quinn. So if you're in the know, it's called Quinn's Whiskey.
Gotcha.
But I wish I called it Quinn's Whiskey, because everyone thinks I'm like super selfish or something, naming a whiskey after myself. And it's just,
you've already got your last name.
Yeah, I know. Do I want more? No, that wasn't the intention at all. But I think it does tell that story, right? And if you actually flip the bottle around and read the back, you can see that.
Very cool. All right, guys, we're up against the clock now. We're hitting an hour. So for our viewers, if they have never tried your product before, can you give them a starting point and where to find it?
What do you mean by starting point? Just want to make sure.
What's going to be the...
price point?
No.
Sorry.
What's going to be the crowd pleaser?
Okay.
And then go from there.
Okay.
Entry into
the world.
Spring Mill and John Sleeman Sons. Where should you start?
Okay, so if you are a Canadian rye drinker, like an everyday classic rye guy, okay with mixing it with ginger ale, doesn't need to be sip neat, but can sip it neat, you start with our $45 bottle of rye whiskey, which has 5% of this is my brother's rye from his Canadian oak barrels. The rest of it is corn from a multi-use barrel that we've made in-house and laid it down, and then rye from a once-used bourbon. If you're a bigger rye guy, we've got the Cooper's rye. If you can find it, get your hand on a bottle, hold on to it, because I don't really have much left until 2 years from now. Or our 100% rye that's finished in a PX sherry that did very well. That's a single cask. For single malts, our base single malt is somewhere up here, right here. Again, very easy and approachable. Our entry is always easy and approachable. That's the most important thing for me. And so the washbacks, like we talked about, double pot, authentic Canadian malted barley. And then we took that and we finished it in 2 different sherry casks for another release, our sherry finished single malt, a Pedro Jimenez and an Oloroso. Our most awarded whiskey actually is our sherry finished single malt. And then if you're a bourbon drinker, we've got our traditional straight whiskey. Give you an idea, so in 2024 we sold 2,000 bottles of that in the country. In 2025 we sold 36,000 bottles of that. So, which again, I'm not bragging. What I'm saying now, when people are like, "Why don't I have it?" It's like, because I sold all of it. Like it's all gone. And so I'm just trying to keep up. So it does quite well for us. And then we've launched our high-rise straight whiskeys. So anytime anybody sees straight whiskey on our label, that's me saying bourbon. So this is a 34% rye, so it would be a high rye if it was made in the States. 51 corn, the rest is malted barley, in a virgin American oak barrel. And then if you're an Irish drinker, I now have a solution for you too.
Nice.
Let's bring it back up front.
Yeah, and so we've named it Aeneas Coffey after the Irishman that invented the coffee still, which we have one here. So.
Very cool.
So the correct pronunciation is Aeneas.
Aeneas, at least I think. Am I screwing this up?
I have no idea.
I think it's Aeneas. I'm
tried
pretty
to.
sure.
I mean,
You just
I picked it
scared
up,
me, man.
I picked it up and looked at it. I was like, Aeneas.
Oh yeah,
Aeneas?
I know. Okay, so the funny thing is like it was either Aeneas Coffey or it was like these crazy Gaelic words.
Yeah.
So I think it's Rune Shark was the one I was really close to saying, but it doesn't like it. You say Rune Shark, but it's like it's not even close to spelled like Rune Shark. You would have no idea. And it
It's like the way you spell Siobhan or something.
Yeah, exactly. And it means, unless I'm mistaken, it means my secret love, and that's what I wanted to actually do because it's again my dad's little nod to Irish whiskey. But then when I was like, this isn't going to work. No one's going to know how to pronounce this. And then where you can find us. So we're pretty well distributed now across the country. I'm really proud of that. That's been a focus for us in the last 2 years. So you'll find at least one of our products across the country. With the exception of the territories and Newfoundland and Labrador. And you can get anything shipped to your house, just saying, from our website. So anything you see here, our RTDs, our gin and our vodka, we can get them to you.
And should somebody come to Guelph, Ontario, and come visit you here at the Spring Mill Distillery?
We would love them to do that. And one of the things I'm really proud of is the fact that Guelph has a lot to offer. So it's not just this distillery.
Right.
There's tons of really good craft breweries. Sleeman Breweries is here that you can go in and get a tour of that. There's a lot of history. It's quite a destination. So please come and visit. You can find everything on our website. You can also follow us on socials. So johnsleemansons.com. You see me making an ass of myself up there. That's how you find us.
I mean, I don't think you make an ass of yourself. That recent desk video was
my
super
dad's
cool.
desk.
That was very cool, very cool.
Yeah, it's totally legit too.
If you haven't seen it, please go take a look. The Ward Bar, where did that come from, that name?
So the neighborhood that we're in, Guelph was made up of wards, right? They were all like St. Patrick's Ward and St. George's Ward and all this stuff. And so the only neighborhood that still is called the Ward is the neighborhood we're in.
Gotcha.
And the neighborhood we're in is that Italian neighborhood with the illicit stills in the house, and then they came to, now called the Ward Bar. And so I thought that connection made sense.
Very nice.
Super cool.
Cooper, it's been awesome hanging out here
Thank you.
in this amazing rack house, and we're going to continue to have an awesome time tonight. So
Looking forward to it.
thank you for your hospitality,
Thank you
for your time.
Yeah.
This has been really wonderful. Yeah.
This has been Your Mind on Whiskey. Unpoured Perspective.
Have a good night.